This morning on the Truth Hour radio program, California becomes the first sanctuary state. Also, believe it or not, the Trump administration, its first year in office, has conquered global warming. Pakistan has been docked $255 million because they harbor terrorists, and more bombshells on Uma Abedin and the Clinton scandals. This and much more today on the Truth Hour.
Something really wrong is going on.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here today?
I want the truth.
Good morning. Good Thursday morning, Truth Hour radio audience. You're on the Truth Hour radio program. My name is Shane Jameson, and I welcome you here today to another jam-packed session of the Truth Hour, where we have another full hour of political insight and today a little bit of humor also. So I look forward to today's session. I don't know where you're at, but where we're at here in Pittsburgh, PA, it is absolutely freezing cold. Absolutely freezing. We've got a huge Arctic system, I think, coming up the East Coast. They've got some kind of special local weather, meteorological, whatever you call it, meteorological, I don't know, I probably butchered that type term for it. Some kind of, they call it a bomb cyclone or something like that. And, you know it's big and bad when they start pulling out the verbiage like that. So, anyways, it's supposed to be bringing a lot of freezing precipitation, a lot of snow, a lot of ice, a lot of cold temperatures to the East Coast, and make what's already extremely bitterly cold here even colder. So I do know, I think 2 or 3 days ago, they actually set some records, broke some 100-year plus old records for lows, I believe in Montana and Nebraska, with negative temperatures. Unbelievable. So I'm sure Al Gore's loving that. Yeah. Where's Al Gore when it's, but typically what the left will do, and the Gores of the world will basically, that tout global warming. What's real simple, when you have a polar ice cap dive down into the United States like this, well, all of a sudden, well, that ain't global warming, it's just climate change. So, once again, a pivot. That way they can stay relevant. Well, occasionally global warming will actually make it colder. See, that's what they're saying now. So, I think Rachel Maddow on CNN actually said that the other day, 2 days ago, that sometimes global warming actually makes it colder. I don't think you can have it both ways. You can't be on both sides of the fence. So, yeah, whole lot of stuff going on today. Welcome everybody. If you're here, please chat in so I can acknowledge who you are and give you a shout out. We appreciate you being with us today. So, front and center coming out of the gate here, we'll go ahead and jump on the information that I've got here at hand. California becomes the first sanctuary state, achieves sanctuary state status, which is absolutely, I'm not informed quite enough to really dive into all of that, but I think on the surface it's pretty self-explanatory. You have a state that's refusing to follow federal law, and they think that they can call their own shots, basically disregard federal law that's been put into place by the Trump administration, and basically that's immigration law has been a part of law. Once again, I don't have the specific facts, but that's been, that transcends the Trump administration. That goes back countless administrations. It is a part of federal law, and if you come across the border illegally, you are breaking federal law. There's really no other way around it. And the whole kicker on that too, that adds to all this, is underneath this new status, California has prevented its own law enforcement agencies, local police, local PD, to not communicate with ICE agents, which is immigration enforcement agents, if and when there is an illegal alien that's, in the process. So in other words, and they've been notorious for this. I believe the Kate Steinle murderer that was basic atrocity, was acquitted on all charges, didn't even get manslaughter, wasn't convicted of murder, was back in this country for, I believe, the 7th time, illegally, was deported 6 times, was back in the country 7 times, and was released, and on purpose ran around behind. Basically, they, whoever the authorities were in that situation, purposely ran circles around the ICE agents and wanted to make sure that this individual wasn't deported again. It's pretty simple, and if the laws that are currently on the books would have been enforced by the local communities and municipalities in conjunction with the truth, or with what's in conjunction with the ICE agents and the federal law enforcement agencies, then this individual would have been deported. Well, he was deported, and then if we actually had a border that prevented illegal immigration, then this gentleman wouldn't have been back in the States, and he never would have murdered Kate Stiling. I mean, it's as simple as that. So, I'm just sick and tired of what we have. Is we have current law, and then because current law is not enforced, we have all these subcategory laws. So you have immigration law, and then underneath that, because we don't enforce our borders and people do make it across, then what you have is all these sub rules and these sub laws. And then I didn't have this pulled up, and it would have been a great screenshot, but I've got a screenshot of Nancy Pelosi basically stating, yeah, we need to deport all the illegal immigrants if they commit something illegal. Well, how ridiculous is that statement? If you come across the border, once you've stepped foot onto United States soil, and you didn't do it through the right processes and the right immigration form, then you've broken the law. So aren't you therefore an illegal immigrant at that point? So if you are, then, I mean, it's just ridiculous. So we get into this, and, and then even you got the Dems, and we'll get into this. I've got a video here shortly, but you've got some other stuff coming up, infrastructure bills and spending cuts and stuff that are being debated, and now the Democrats want to throw on DACA onto that and make sure that somehow or another Trump and the administration addresses, the Dreamers. And we've already went through this a number of weeks ago. I mean, the Dreamers are here. They got brought here not by their own will. This was, their parents or grandparents came here, and they are kind of fruits of that poisonous tree. It's not really their fault. They came here on the coattails of their parents, or they were born here from their parents being illegal and coming here illegally. So I do have differing opinions about that, but I've always thought that, in my opinion, a great way to take away, because here's the Democrats want that victimhood base, and one of their number one victimhood bases is the illegal immigrant status base. And they want to champion that, and for years they've always wanted to have amnesty, overnight amnesty. Well, you have 8, 10, 12, 14 million overnight voters is what you would have if amnesty's declared. And that's simple. Then all of a sudden they'd be Democratic voters. Well, I've always said, I don't know why Trump doesn't take this playing card away from them. Why doesn't he take this ace in the hole away from them? And in my opinion, the best way to probably move forward with the Dreamers is to have some form of amnesty. I'm not about that, and I know that's bittersweet to say, because then you're disregarding all the people that came here legally and went through the process that took probably years. We have a member of our church whose name I'll leave out for his own privacy, but he's trying to get his wife here. And he's been battling that for years, only to have, one roadblock after another roadblock, after another pitfall, after another Mount Everest, after another this, or another technical this, or a legality this. And he's eventually there will be a day come to pass when he's able to get his wife and child here, but that's a gentleman that's doing it the right way. So, if you're going to basically say, well, all these people that have already made it across the finish line have some kind of instant, well, we'll go ahead and just shut the door now. I know it's not right, but what else are we going to do? Are we going to tackle that? Or is it feasible? Is it financially feasible to go around and try to deport, uproot, not only the Dreamers, but how about the actual illegal immigrants that got here in the first place, which is in the millions? I don't believe that's going to happen, and that's not right. So the next best thing, I think the GOP and the Republicans ought to make it their own. They ought to steal this away from the Democrats and the left. They ought to come up with some form of amnesty that's both beneficial to both sides and to our current American law, and get that border wall up, stop immigration from coming across illegally, enforce those borders properly, enforce the current system, and the people that are already here, I say we bring them out of the shadows. I say we do something to go ahead and champion them as citizens eventually and give them a chance. Because if you do that, all of a sudden, guess what? They're not Democratic voters anymore. And we would pull a 1-2 on the Democrats. We'd pull them over to the GOP. And we would have generational, and it's not about votes, it's about principle. But let's just go there for a minute. If for a minute it is about votes, because that's at the end of the day what that part of that is. How about on principle, they're already here, and how about on principle, how about we get their votes too? It would be a death blow to the Democratic base. They live in the minority sector and in the illegal immigration sector, the victimhood status, and if we could pull the victimhood card away from these dreamers that are currently here, they're no longer victims, they're citizens. Somehow, some way, I don't know how we get there, but I'm just saying if we could, then all of a sudden, guess what? They'll be voting for the Republicans in 2018, 2020. And there would be no, California could even swing back. Could you believe that? California could go back to the Republicans. Wow, that'd be something. New York. Be crazy. So, anyways, got a video here from, I pulled up off of Fox News, and we'll go ahead and watch that this morning. It's about California becoming the first sanctuary state, and also I think they've legalized pot, so they've done a 1-2. So let's take a look.
January 1st, California became an official sanctuary state, not a sanctuary city, the entire state a sanctuary, which would bar any police in the state from asking people their immigration status or helping the feds when it comes to immigration issues.
This is incredible. So what they used to say, for the immigrants here among our population, you don't have to feel deportation. They're not immigrants. Immigrants are allowed to be here. Illegal immigrants aren't. They snuck in. That's a little dissemination. So now if you are in a public school, in a public library, a health facility, they are safe zones from Donald Trump. They say it's you against Donald Trump.
Right, not only if you're illegal, you're welcome in California. Also, if you want to get high, you're welcome there, too. So you can be illegal and wasted on marijuana,
right,
and live in that state and be just fine.
The 6th state to legalize marijuana as of January 1st. And by the way, it's amazing how long the lines were. Well, 50% higher than they even anticipated.
20 years ago, they had medical marijuana, and now they've got recreational pot as long as it's a small amount.
I was reading an article on FoxNews.com, and they said...
And business was good first day. That's people lining up
going
to buy
it. Okay. Underneath the Welcome to California sign, someone posted a sign that said, official sanctuary state, felons, illegals, and MS-13 welcome. Democrats need the votes.
Absolutely. How amazing is that? That's the message.
The sign.
I believe that was Photoshopped.
Was it? I'm sure.
But by the way,
it's been everywhere.
Sheriffs who have to go and wrangle up and try to keep everybody safe, most of them are not happy about this whole sanctuary state, the first one in the union, and they're worried about the trend.
Yeah, so you have Kilmeade and the crew there on Fox News. A morning or two back, I believe, discussing California's sanctuary status and also their legalization. I think they stated they're now the 6th state that's legalized marijuana use in some form or extent. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to start with that. That's wrong on so many levels. I mean, you basically have a state. You have a state that's all but declared war on the federal government as far as it pertains to current law. And it's not just, once again, it's not just Trump's law. Trump didn't come into office and all of a sudden use an executive order and go, it's against the law to cross the border illegally, and if you harbor these illegals, we're going to do something about it. Guess what? The fact is, I know in Texas, I think Austin was another sanctuary-type status city in Texas. Texas is not a sanctuary state. In fact, their governor and all the mayors of those cities, they are kicking butt and taking names. In fact, they are enforcing this, and the government, Jeff Sessions, is also doing his part as well. It's simple. If you harbor illegal aliens and you in any way and you basically circumvent federal law and you prevent ICE or other agencies from doing their job, which is immigration enforcement, and you have somebody that you need to deport and you basically, pull the wool over the government's eyes, play the head games that have been played 1,000 different times, then okay, you want to pull that, then we'll just pull state funding. We'll pull state funding from your cities and your state on the state level, and so that's the kicker. But in my opinion, we shouldn't be on the government's roll or toll anyways. States should have to be funded by the government for roads and infrastructure. I think we could really dive into that, guys. That's a whole nother subject, but I think state by state should be just that, state by state. When you accept something from the government, and this is true in life in general. When you accept handouts and freebies from anybody, guess what? Said person or said group or said state or said government has the right to dictate to you how you act and what you do. If you don't want that, then don't accept it and be self-sufficient and independent like we should be. So, the whole state funding thing, I think there's a portion of that that's kind of legitimate and I could probably back, but a majority of that I think is ridiculous to begin with. So anyways, they hit these states hard. If you're going to pull away from federal government and federal law, and you're not going to basically toe the line, then we'll just come in here and, take away your funding. So, here's what's odd about this. California's all but a bankrupt state. You can see what liberalism and the far left has done to that state in the last 2 generations. It's one of the highest tax states in the country. They have a horrible real estate market because of certain tax structures. They, tax their citizens ungodly amounts of money. It's horrible. And then so you've got a situation now where they're basically forcing the government's hand. They're forcing Jeff Sessions and their hand to basically say, okay, well, we're just going to... So you got a state that's basically starving to death because of their own policies and their own liberalism and leftist tendencies and socialist type tendencies. And now, because the higher-ups in that state refuse to basically fall in suit with federal law that transcends the Trump administration, has been there for countless administrations, they're actually doing their own another disservice to their state. If I lived in California, I'd be voting those officials out. I don't know about you, but I can guarantee you, one, I wouldn't want to live in California. It's beautiful. I've been there. I was there when I was a kid, really young, but I never want to live there. Just makes me sick, the way that they treat fellow citizens and stuff. So, horrible stuff. And then add to that, they've legalized marijuana. It's despicable too. I'm not a, I know the government, there's a whole nother discussion about the war on drugs, but let me tell you something. I don't think the right way is legalizing something. I'm of 2 sides of the fence of this, and I know that's kind of odd for me because I'm one side of the fence or the other. I'm not but there's you can have certain arguments on both sides of the fence on this. So on one side of the fence, does making something illegal make you not do it? Absolutely not. But on the same hand, does making something legal, does that satisfy and correct maybe the wrongs of the destructiveness of whatever's being made legal? No, it doesn't. I'll tell you what it does do, and I'm going to tell you the reason the government does this. The government's tired of fighting a battle on drugs that they see as a losing battle. And I'm going to tell you the number one reason they're done messing with this is because they see a huge tax base. And if the product's illegal and it's done under the table and black market and, it's concealed and, it's just the bad guys are doing it, well, guess what? They're not getting their hands in the pie. That's really all it's about. They want to be able to tax this industry. They want to be able to tax the millions and millions of dollars that are made in the marijuana industry. And truth be told, I can guarantee you there's probably an element of government out there that would overnight legalize any and all drugs, including methamphetamines, cocaine, any of the other, type of illicit drugs that are illegal. And that's a scary and that's a slippery slope, guys. I mean, you're talking about going down a road you can't come back from. But in my opinion, whether something's illegal or legal doesn't put any bearing in my mind. I mean, if it's moral, then it's moral. If it's immoral, then it's immoral. I mean, we should be making our own decisions and judgments based on principle and morals, not based on what government says is right and wrong. Government says it's okay to have an abortion. Doesn't mean it's right. It's not moral. It's not ethical. It's not principled. Just because it's the law of the land doesn't mean that we have to follow suit with that. And as Christians, we shouldn't do that anyways. We should be standing on our own facts and our own truth and our own morals based on God's word. So I could go on about that, but yep. So some comedy for you on the Truth Hour radio program today. I've been wanting to do this because, down deep, I'm a comic. I mean, I love to, cut up and just have, improv moments. And so, what I'm going to start doing every week is trying to incorporate a couple of segments that are just downright hilarious, and a lot of it's going to do with Trump and other situations and in the Dems and stuff. But the latest thing to come down the pipe was a Twitter war. It was between Kim Jong-un, over North Korea's leader, absolute idiot, and the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. And the short of it was, Kim Jong-un comes out and has a tweet, that he's always posturing, he's always doing this. So I've got a nuclear trigger, and it's always available, and it's always on my desk, and it's always pointed at the United States. To paraphrase, I don't have the tweet in front of me. Well, leave it to Trump, because he's a counterpuncher. He occasionally punches first, but if you punch him, you better knock him out and clean house, because he's going to come back with every bit of his arsenal that he's got, even in a situation on a tweet. So then Trump comes back with a tweet and basically states, well, that's great, Kim Jong-un, you got a button. Well, mine's bigger, and mine actually works, and to paraphrase. And so I found this yesterday when I was surfing, and I thought it was funny. This is actually from a left liberal leaning website that can't stand Trump, but I do think it's hilarious. So I want you to take a look at this real fast. You got me on here. Now that is funny. If you can see that, you have to think that's hilarious. His button, my button. I mean, it looks like a 2-year-old scribbled that out. My daughter Kenzie could probably scribble better than that. Absolutely slap your knee funny, right? I think that is hilarious. So, and then also, this just in fact, I just pulled this up on my phone. Yeah, y'all aren't going to believe this. You ain't going to believe this. In his first year in office, amongst the other things, the Trump administration has solved global warming. There it is. Look on the screen. Yeah, he solved global warming. What else hadn't the guy done, right? I mean, the polar ice caps dropped into the plains. Any day we'll have glaciers moving across the Great Plains. A mini ice age is coming. And somewhere at this specific minute in time, Al Gore is ripping the last few hairs he has in his head out. I think it's absolutely hilarious. I bet he's hopping in his private jet right now. I bet he didn't offset with those carbon footprint things. And I bet he filled his private jet up to the hilt, and I bet he's burning tons of carbon right now as he's going to Key Largo while he's going to get on a conference call and tell us how we're supposed to pedal bicycles around because we're ruining the planet, and capitalism's horrible, and the energy industry's horrible, and burning fossil fuels is horrible, and searching for our own fossil fuels and being energy independent is horrible, and we should just send billions of dollars every year over to the countries that want to murder us, and because why should we be self-sufficient? I bet he's absolutely livid. But what he's doing, and somebody's going to ask him in the next few days. He'll be at somewhere, some convention, or And some reporter will walk up and go, Mr. Gore, so what's your opinion about the local Antarctic freeze that we've had? And he's going to basically, as it pertains to your global warming theory, and he's going to look at the camera and he's going to go, well, it's climate change, sir. It's climate change. It's climate change. That global warming, it does a lot of crazy things. Not only just warming the globe, but occasionally it's just extreme changes in climate, i.e. the polar ice caps have come down in Nebraska. So that's what he'll do. I mean, I just think it's hilarious. The Al Gores, all the other, a lot of the Hollywood stars that hop in those private jets, go all around the world looking at, going to these conferences and telling us how we're burning too much gas. We shouldn't be hopping on planes, but they'll hop on a private jet with one person on it probably and their staff to go across the county. But we can't hop on a commercial jet with 250 people and go across the state. And that's balanced? Yeah, how do you square that? I don't think you can. They have no business telling us how to do it. Now, the guy that wants to come out and tell us that, and he believes it, and he lives it, and he hops on his bike every day, and he goes to work, and he minimizes his carbon footprint, I'll give that guy an ear. I'll listen. It's still ridiculous, because to think that mankind can change what God created is ridiculous. God created this. We can't change that. We're too infinitely small to change what God's creation is and the way God's plan is. And that's the whole crux of the leftist argument there. They, by declaring global warming and that we have the power to transcend God, somehow they believe that we've transcended God. Truth be known, a lot of the left think that they're like gods. I mean, in their own way, they can satisfy their own needs. They can take care of themselves. They can provide for themselves. It's their will. Well, the truth be told, it's God's will. I mean, it's the way it's always been. So some comedy spread in there, I mean, who would know? I mean, I've got a list all the way to the ground of the accomplishments of Trump. We might have to put that one number 2 underneath bringing Christ back. Number 2, Trump solves global warming. Drop the mic. I think it's awesome. Oh, goodness. And leading with more strength, not only did Nikki Haley step in front of the UN Council here a week or two back, after the UN unanimously voted down our decision to move our embassy to Jerusalem, and then she stepped in and said, okay, well, we'll keep you in mind, and we're just basically going to cut our budget. We paid 20% of the budget and the UN budget, and you're going to basically condemn our sovereign right to put our embassy where we so choose. Then we'll just cut the purse strings of the UN budget as it pertains to how much we pay. Well, Pakistan has been harboring terrorists for as long as there's probably been terrorists. They've pretended to be on the United States side. They cater up to us when it's convenient and then stab us in the back when it's not. We don't have to go any further than bin Laden. Bin Laden was holed up in Pakistan. Bin Laden was killed in Pakistan. A raid across that border into Pakistan had to take place covertly to kill the most wanted terrorist in the world at that time, Osama bin Laden. And what does Pakistan do but deny every accountability or every acknowledgement that that was the case? When he was sitting there, you mean the most wanted terrorist in the world is living in your borders and you don't know that? I think that's ridiculous. So, long story short, I've been calling for this for years, but no other administration would do this. We send them millions of dollars a year. Millions. Now, Pakistan's a nuclear power. I mean, I don't know exactly what the money's tied to. It doesn't matter. Trump comes in. He's the the art of the deal, right? He's always getting the best deal. And let me tell you something. These kind of deals that were put in place by other administrations and carried forward by other administrations with a blind eye are some of the first things that he's been targeting. He's gutting the UN. He thinks it's useless. In a lot of ways it is. And I'm going to tell you what. These countries that have open hands and open arms when it's time to cut checks from the United States that do not have our best interests at heart and harbor terrorists that then turn around and go back across borders to fight against our boys and to kill us, he's like, you're not getting a single dime. And amen to that. Absolutely amen. Go Trump on that. We don't need to be sending a single dime of money, taxpayer money, my money, your money, to a country that harbors terrorists that are going to kill us. If you're an enabler, you're no better than the actor that does it. In my opinion, if you enable the act, you might as well be committing the act. And it's about time we had an administration that stepped up and said something and actually treated it as such, you know. So, yeah, so Nikki Haley, she's awesome. She's a gangbuster. I keep up with her. She gets on there. She just guts the UN, just gets up there and says, well, you know what, we've been thinking Pakistan, and we're pretty much sick of it. You guys have been harboring terrorists. We're over there fighting in Afghanistan for over 10 years. You know, spilling our blood, sweat, and tears. You know, our national treasures are getting spilt over there in the form of blood. Our guys are dying. And this is what we have to thank. This is what we get in thanks for that. You guys just let these guys squirt across the border and take harborage over there until it's convenient for them to come back. And you don't acknowledge it. You not only don't acknowledge it, you allow it, and you don't even give us heads up about it. So, you know, they got safe haven across the border to a country that we send millions. So, pretty simple. Quit harboring the terrorist or lose the money. I think they should quit harboring the terrorist and lose the money. I don't think they deserve the money regardless if they're not harboring the terrorist. And I don't care if you're our best friend in the neighborhood. Doesn't mean you should get millions and millions of dollars in U.S. aid. Take care of yourself. And that's a whole nother thing. We spend millions abroad. We got people starving in the streets here. We got infrastructure falling apart. Trump's fixing to address that. We got enough stuff to worry about here at home, on our own corners, in our own streets, in our own cities, that we don't need to be spending and sending billions across the seas to countries that could care less. And it's about time we had a president that stood up and said it. So, awesome stuff there. Another big development that just keeps on bearing fruit. It's the gift that keeps giving. Abedin, back in the news again. I can guarantee you she wished that 2017 was over. Unfortunately, she's probably going to wish that 2018 was already over, because the way it's looking and shaping up, she's going to be front and center in the news. And there's a good chance she might have some kind of... It's obvious that I believe there's an investigation going back into her and then into the tentacles of the Clinton email scandal. But we have a video that we're going to play here shortly that... Here's the irony of this and the hypocrisy. There was a gentleman a few years back, a year or two back, a Navy machinist. He was aboard a submarine, I believe. He took a photograph, or a few, right? He's a Navy guy. He's on a ship. He's excited about his surroundings, which is pretty simple. I mean, I'm sure he was aware of this, but I'm just going to take a few innocent photographs of my submarine. This is cool. I mean, I'm inside a nuclear ballistic submarine. I'm going to send this back to my folks, or I'm just going to take them. Whatever his reasoning. I could see myself doing that. I could see anybody wanting to do that, not thinking twice about it, right? We're not supposed to do that. Highly sensitive, classified area. You can't be taking photographs of something like that in any form or fashion. If those got in the wrong hands, that's top secret. A top secret sub, and you don't want anything getting to the enemy, period, even a simple photograph. This gentleman innocently takes a few photographs, might have just been one, I don't know the number, gets found out about. His life is ruined. He's court-martialed for it. He's financially broke fighting it. His military career was ruined over it. And then you have this.
There was a sailor who took a picture on a submarine. That is, I'm a Navy guy. That stuff is classified. You're not supposed to do that. He shouldn't have done it. But he ends up going to federal prison for that, where you look at what Huma did, you look at what Hillary did, with how they had all this classified information on these unclassified servers and computers, and yet none of them were held accountable.
Here now in an exclusive interview is that former Navy machinist you just heard Congressman DeSantis talking about, Christian Saucier. Christian, thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me on, Sandra.
What was that like this morning to see your story brought up in that tweet by the president again?
Well, I mean, it's good because I think he's pointing out some serious issues that the FBI and the DOJ under Comey and Andrew McCabe, I mean, these are the same guys who were investigating me at the same time they were supposedly investigating Hillary Clinton and her cronies. And, they couldn't wait to exonerate them before they'd even conducted interviews, whereas they were chomping at the bit to destroy my life, which is exactly what they did.
To be clear, Christian, and I think this is important to get this out here, you took responsibility for your actions. You owned it. You pled guilty, and then you served time. Correct. So it's a double standard that you say you believe exists.
Oh, yeah. I mean, these politicians, Hillary Clinton, a prime example, she denied and denied and denied it until finally she got caught red-handed and said, OK, I did it. What's the big deal, basically? Well, the big deal is she did exactly what they accused me of doing and what I pled guilty and took responsibility to. I didn't go to trial. I took secured information, pictures of my submarine, and put it on an unsecured device, my cell phone. That's what I got charged with, unlawful retention of national defense information, which, by the way, is
and also
exactly
to point out, you're still under house arrest, right? I mean, you still got an ankle bracelet on.
That's correct. Yeah, I did a year in federal prison. I got 6 months of house arrest and 3 years of federal probation. Plus, I'm a felon and I have an other than honorable discharge. So I lost all my VA disability benefits, my veteran status, everything after 11 years in the service and, 2 deployments to the Middle East. I have nothing. It's very difficult for me watching as, this very same FBI that was supposedly, protecting us from people that mishandle classified information. Well, that's what they said was my case, that they needed to set an example. Well, why aren't they setting an example of this egregious violation that Hillary Clinton and Huma Abedin and Cheryl Mills did? They had top secret SCI, which is the highest level. I had confidential pictures, which, I'm not trying to minimize what I did. I made a mistake, and that's why I took responsibility. But I've been contacted by numerous people in the military after this happened, and they said, from Vietnam up to current day, and said, well, gosh, I took pictures of where I worked, and it was probably top secret or something, but I wanted to have mementos of my time in service. And I said, well, that's what a lot of people do, and that's what I did. But it just so happened that my case was fortuitous for them to prosecute so that they could take the heat off Hillary Clinton.
Now, what happens next with the president bringing you and your situation up in this tweet this morning? I know you had hopes that President Trump would possibly pardon you or relook at your case. He hasn't done that. Do you still have hopes that he may?
Well, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that he'll look at this case and say, look, this sailor, my family and I have been put through the ringer. We've been punished enough. We've lost everything. Our house is in foreclosure. We got bill collectors from all the legal debts calling all the time. What more can they do to us? I think he needs to send a clear message to the DOJ under the Obama administration that what they did to us was far to the extreme. And he needs to send the same message to Hillary Clinton and them and say, look, you need to get prosecuted. And this guy here, he shouldn't be a felon anymore. It's difficult. It's such an uphill battle being a felon and trying to get a job and trying to assimilate back into society.
So based on what we just learned with Huma Abedin and this latest email release, what do you think should happen to her? Should she see jail time?
I think she should be prosecuted. It's neither here nor there whether she should see jail time. That's what a grand jury and what a jury of her peers say. But she should be prosecuted. She should be put through the same legal system that went after me. And unfortunately, I didn't have near the legal resources that she does or Hillary Clinton does, so they'll be able to mount a much better defense than I could. But even still, they should still be charged the same as me.
I know it. And as you just detailed to us here, that this has been extremely painful to your family. I know you have a young daughter at home as well. We'll continue to follow your story, Christian.
Thank you so much, and thank you for following it.
Thanks for coming.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, where do you start with that? I mean, how could anybody listen to that gentleman's recount and not think double standard? I mean, and kudos to him for being accountable. I mean, he did say that he agreed with what he did was wrong. The sailor took pictures that were deemed classified. Not quite sure how those got shared or if they got out. I'm assuming they did, or somebody else wouldn't have found out. Or if he got caught in the act, you know, oh man, this is cool, click, 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 and then, you know. But whatever the case may be, this gentleman's distinguished military career was ended overnight. He was dishonorably discharged. As you heard him state, through the legal process, they probably incurred thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars in debt. Their house is in foreclosure. He has a family. He's a convicted felon now, and he can't even own or possess a firearm for the rest of his life. You have to be kidding me. Right? Now, this is the same government. This is the same government that's at this specific moment, it's yet to happen the other way, but at this specific moment has let Hillary Clinton, Abedin, and all the other, you know, snakes in the grass here that are part of this cover-up with the Hillary Clinton email, the dossier, all the other tentacles. They're currently letting them skate. They rigged the system for interviews that weren't they weren't under oath. They weren't videoed. There was no transcripts. There was exoneration letters written before all the witnesses were even interviewed. There was conversations in Andy McCabe's office between Strzok and Lisa Page discussing an insurance policy. There was, I mean, you just go on and on and on, guys. Where this guy takes a photograph, his life is ruined. Hillary Clinton had a email server in her basement in a bathroom that had what experts have deemed the equivalent security status of leaving your laptop on a local park bench. We have now new revelations because Judicial Watch, through the Freedom of Information Act, has been trying to get this information since 2015. How convenient that they're just now releasing this stuff they've known about, which basically begs to question, if they had these emails, they had this information stating that Abedin had these emails, these other emails, these are of these hundreds, if not thousands of new emails they found 4 or 5 already classified. Well, guess where they found them? They found them. There was a transition between Hillary's server to Abedin to Anthony Weiner's laptop. Her husband, her estranged husband, might I add. Now he's not a stand-up character at all himself. Okay, now why does this all sound bad? Well, okay, because if that isn't putting America's national security at risk and in harm's way, I don't know what is. It's bad enough you have the email server that you have that's the equivalent of leaving your laptop on a local park bench. It basically states that anybody and everybody could have access to that. A hacker with no experience could have got a hold of that. There's no telling. And they probably, truth be told, they did. You've got the server, you've got Abedin, her aide, emailing back and forth to personal Yahoo addresses. Guys, back in that time frame when all this was hitting the fan, Yahoo acknowledged it had tens of millions of people's accounts breached. We found countless classified emails that have been transferred through Yahoo accounts. Are you kidding me? Can you add? 2 plus 2 is not 5. 2 plus 2 is 4. This stuff then ends up being, not only that, if that's not bad enough, it ends up then being transmitted because of I think when you connect a device, these things are automatically shared. Well, guess who they end up on? They end up on her estranged husband, Anthony Weiner's laptop. What was Weiner notorious for? What is he still notorious for? What was he convicted of, and why is he serving a prison sentence for? For inappropriate sexting, texting a young girl, pornographic sites, bad things. What do you think this guy was doing probably on a daily basis on his laptop? I don't know. Let's play some Jeopardy music. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. I can tell you what he was doing. He was probably surfing porn sites, okay? What I'm trying to get at, a person's most well-kept laptop or electronic device is still vulnerable to attack on everyday websites that are clean and above rapport. Something could be on there. I can guarantee you if you're surfing the local bad sites, the local porn sites, you are in a proverbial minefield. This classified information, bad enough that it was on her server in the basement, bad enough it got transferred to Uman Abedin's Yahoo account. 10 million times bad than all of that is the fact that it's on Anthony Weiner's laptop that's probably been compromised or had been 1,000 times by all these hackers and individual viruses and, you know, malware that's prevalent on these bad sites. I think everybody knows that. Where is the outrage of this? And all they could ever come up with in this exoneration letter was that it was extremely careless. Because being extremely reckless is criminal. This woman deserves to be underneath a jail cell. She doesn't deserve to even be in jail. She deserves to be somewhere locked away for her life. And this gentleman served his country for 11 years, distinguished, makes a bad decision, takes a photograph or two of an engine room in a classified submarine, gets found out about it, dishonorably discharged, about to lose his house, is a convicted felon now because of being dishonorably discharged. It goes hand in hand. If you're dishonorably discharged, you lose your right to bear arms, and you're a convicted felon. He'll have that on his resume till the day he dies. It's a joke, it's hypocrisy, and it shouldn't be happening. And like they stated in there, I pray that President Trump's looking at that. I pray that he pardons him. If there's anybody, there's a lot of people that probably could fall in line with that, but this guy is right at the top. It would be a thumb in the nose of the Justice Department and all the other agencies that took this guy and made an example out of him when they got people like Clinton and Abedin and all these other corrupt FBI agents walking around free, breathing free air, getting pensions, getting their taxpayer income still to this day, reallocated to HR. They're not banished. They're not gone. They're still working there. We're still paying them to be corrupt, and we're still paying them to undermine this president. That's what's happening. I mean, I never heard anything so bad. And so, I mean, I just want to include that. I mean, but I can guarantee if it was on Fox, I'm sure that, and it's been front and center news. I mean, Trump will see that. And I don't see any fallout for pardoning him. You're not undermining some big thing. I mean, it's not, and here's the thing. The guy, it isn't like he would be intervening at the beginning of this. This guy's already served his time. He had a year in jail, I think, or in some extended amount of time of probation. I mean, guys, the prison sentence is nothing. What needs to be removed from this man's record is the fact that he's been dishonorably discharged, and because of that, he's a convicted felon and no longer can bear arms. Those things are horrible. It's disgraceful. This man deserves to have his name back. I just don't understand what country we're living in when good men like that are treated like that. Now, once again, if Trump come in and pardon him, it's after the fact. He's already served his time. He did the crime. He served the time. In my opinion, the extenuating long-term punishment is unwarranted. He should be reinstated to have an honorable discharge from the military. He should have the felony conviction lifted from his criminal record, and he should have the right to bear arms. Trump could do that today. So, I don't know what else to say on that. I know my coffee's cold. Oh, man. So, we got about 8 or 9 minutes, guys. I don't have any other topics here, but I'm good at rambling, which makes up for that deficit. So, trying to think of some other things there. Once again, I'll blow a little bit of downtime here. I will look on where I always look for my topics. And yeah, here's the post. I don't have it up, but it's famous. It's a picture of Pelosi, and it says, "We should only deport the illegal aliens if they do something illegal." Yeah, it's well worded, Nancy. It's well worded. Well, once again, I said that 30 minutes ago. They're illegal once they cross because they've committed a crime at that point. And that's a whole nother thing. Oh, I know another topic. I don't have it pulled up for any kind of a snap, kind of a screenshot or a video of it. But this is, dadgum, what's the name of that city in Maryland where I think Black Lives Matter got started? Dadgummit. It was just on the news yesterday. Yeah, it's Baltimore. Baltimore, Maryland. Crime rate is through the roof. Record shooting deaths in 2017. And there was a segment on Fox, and I should have pulled that up, but I didn't. They are beside themselves as a community, and they wonder why. It's simple mathematics. It's simple chemistry. It's simple physics. You had that unfortunate situation, and I can't remember the gentleman that was killed there. I don't have that information in front of me, but I believe it was a huge thing. The cops there was a gentleman wrongfully that died in the police custody. Coroner's Freddie Gray, possibly. Yeah. Freddie Gray died in police custody. This is what sparked the whole Baltimore, Maryland riots and spun this area out of control. And the local DA had come out and basically all but convicted these people. This was another situation where President Obama had come out and he was judge, jury, and executioner before the facts were even stated. And that was a funny thing. Obama was always out there. He was always on the mic when it was time to convict our local PDs of something that looked nefarious or looked questionable. It didn't matter what the facts ended up being. Freddie Gray, the Ferguson shooting. I can't even remember all of them. All the ones that President Trump weighed in on prematurely, might I add. And when you have President Obama weighing in well before the facts and the truth have come out, well before there's even been a jury panel, well before there's ever been an indictment, well before a grand jury's been put together to see if there's an indictment, basically saying that there is guilt to go around and that there was something wrongfully done. At that point, you have everything you need, if you believe in those type things, of enough ammunition to then draw a conclusion and move forward. And then guess what happens? The system is done a disservice because the system didn't get a chance to function. If you're proven guilty before you even had a chance to be proven innocent, I thought it was the other way around. You're innocent until proven guilty. You're not guilty until proven innocent. The weight of the crime or the weight of the assertion is not left on the person that's being convicted or investigated to prove innocence. You are considered innocent, and the weight of the burden of the crime is what's put on the person to be proven that he actually did that. So you can't have it both ways. But Obama would always be on the wrong side of the fence. Well, these gentlemen were acquitted, I believe. Freddie Gray's murderers, I don't believe there was any wrongdoing that was. And so, anyways, long story short, what do you think you would be doing the day before the Freddie Gray attacks and some of these other allegations happened? What would you be doing as a police officer? You'd be enforcing the law. You'd be doing to the fullest extent of the law that you could. And you wouldn't be looking over your shoulder wondering if the DA is going to be prosecuting you or looking for wrongdoing or you wouldn't be thinking that the President of the United States would be looking over your shoulder, condemning you before you even went out and did your job that day. Freddie Gray dies. There are some questionable things that surround that. Didn't matter. He already convicted the people in the court of public, basically the public court. court of opinion. And what do you think a police department does? They shrink. They regress. They stop enforcing the law for the most part. They stop doing a lot of their beats where they go down, 2 people out on foot, having just a general police presence in the communities. Why? Because a lot of those communities started shunning the police. They started hating the police, backed by a president that was fueling that fire. And then you've got the rest is history. So over the course of 18 months or longer, you've got a police department that has regressed and pulled back, and they are gun shy, for a lack of a better term, to do their job. They don't want to be convicted of something erroneously. They don't want to be accused of racism. They don't want to be accused of something that they didn't do. So they just don't do anything. So when you don't do anything, crime rises. When you don't do anything, people get shot. When you don't do anything, people die. And the very law enforcement that you've paid to put in place to protect you stands by with a blind eye because of their own fears set in place by an administration that had already predetermined that they were guilty, convicted them, and didn't give them a chance to due process. And now Baltimore's wondering and reeling why they have such a high murder rate, and they want their cops back. Good luck having that happen in the next few days or weeks or months. When you come in and you've got a police department in a community and you have a residual effect in that environment that the local PD is horrible, that they're racist, that they're bad, and that everything they do is tainted and corrupt, you just don't change that mindset in the local community overnight. It doesn't happen. So Baltimore, Maryland needs to look no further than the Obama administration if they want to hold somebody accountable. And the poor men and women of the Baltimore, Maryland Police Department that have to live with this, I feel for them. And they have a lot of more trudging to go through to get through the other side of this because, until you feel like you're backed by your community and backed by your local municipality and your district attorney ain't out to just hang you at every turn on some stupid thing, then, it's never going to get better. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to that unfortunate time of the truth hour that I absolutely despise. It is the ending of the truth hour for this episode. I love doing what I do, and I actually hate when it ends. I do wish that this segment could contend for hours, and I wish I could come back tomorrow, and I wish I could be back the next day, and I wish it just never ended. But the truth be told, it can't. I do have a job to do, have other things to do, so I do appreciate your attendance, guys, and if you happen to see this after it's been streamed, it's on YouTube, whatever the case may be, please like us, subscribe to us, follow us. If you have any email questions, or any questions or comments or topics, please email me at truthhourradio@gmail.com, truthhourradio@gmail.com. Grateful for the ability to sit here weekly and bring political insight and truth to you. Didn't have much of a faith segment today, but yet again, strong in my faith and want to be an advocate for Christ. And hey, next week we'll have some more topics surrounding Scripture and faith, and I'll try to find some stuff that's relevant also to tie in with our political topics as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, I do appreciate you. Have a blessed week. Stay safe, and we will do this all again this time next week. And appreciate it. Oh, hey, Aaron. Thanks for jumping in there, brother. Almost missed you, man. Thanks for being on here again, my friend, and anybody else that joined. And I'm running short of time. So I will see you down the road. God bless, and we'll see you next week.
Something really wrong is going on.
What kind of a show are you guys putting on here?